are. Joining me tonight, wonderful and illustrious Jules Kedzie, kind of a superstar in her own right, just fresh off of commentating Strikeforce.
Invicta, yeah.
Invicta.
Commentating Invicta, yeah. I just went to Strikeforce, yeah, just to be a fan.
I thought maybe you were commentating too.
Okay. I'm only a legend in my own
I guess
head.
I just outed myself that I didn't watch that shit. And Emily Kagan.
Hey.
A little nervous still. And then Bailey, who's a little nervous too. Who's
Bailey doesn't
behind
like
these
men.
Two. So how are the fights? How was Invicta?
Invicta was amazing.
Yeah.
Well, from my perspective,
Yeah.
it was, I mean, Emily had, she had a rough night that night, but she had a really good fight, I thought.
Yeah.
Really impressive. And,
Against a real...
yeah, Rose Namajunas, who I, in my head, was calling Rose Namajama, just the way her name is spelled. Like, I kept saying it the wrong way.
It's always hard if you don't have somebody telling you.
I was like, Pat Barry was sitting behind me at the weigh-ins, and she's his girlfriend. I was like, how do you say her name again?
Right.
Like,
I'm like, I can mimic that, but reading it, I'm never going to come up with
feeling like a total douche. Like, I should know this information beforehand, but I didn't. But it was a good night of fights. Really exciting. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
How did you feel, Em?
I feel pretty good about the fights in general. It was a really exciting night, and it was really fun to go the distance in my fight. I don't feel disappointed per se in my performance, just in walking away with the loss. It was,
Right.
It's hard, but I learned a lot from the fight, so I'll be back better than ever as I am with each fight. That
Nice.
I like to grow from each one. So
Are you looking for a long road with Invicta? What are you thinking? Or what are they thinking, I guess,
Well, it sounds as though they were really impressed with the fight, and everyone else that fought that night. It was really great. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, I hope to be with Invicta for a long time.
Right
I
on.
love the organization, and I hope that I can continue to impress both the presidents and the audiences as well.
Is this going to be, I don't know a whole lot about it. I remember a long time ago, Hook and Shoot did an all-female card, way back, just, showing my age, I guess, even that I remember that.
I
But,
fought in it, so it's
yeah,
okay.
it's like that was the first time when they're really trying to showcase this, and now Invicta seems to be that kind of organization that's like the evolution into a really high-level show that's really focusing on female fighters. Is that going to be do you think that's the number one regional show that is going to be pushing people towards the UFC?
Yeah, and I don't actually think it's a regional show per se. It was only in Kansas City so much because they had some kind of agreement. The next show is actually going to be in California, in
Right on.
Irvine. Yeah, but I do think it's, I mean, you could call it the UFC for women, except
Right.
that it's its own brand. It's the Invicta
Sure.
brand, yeah. And now that women are in the UFC, that kind of, you can't say the UFC for women because there are, there's a female division in the UFC
Right.
now. But what's nice about Invicta is it highlights all these different weight classes. It's not just, okay,
How many what weight classes were represented?
105, 115, 125, 135, and 145. And I don't know if
Shit.
they're planning on starting a 155 division. I don't know what the depth
Right,
is there,
right.
but yeah.
It's interesting that when you get in those heavier weights, that'd be a heavier weight for women's fighting class, but and just you look at the evolution of the men, for a long time the heavyweights for the men, it was it's not the best athleticism that you could hope for really, and now that's really changed, a decade later into it, and do you think that that's the same, or now with the evolution of the sport, are all fighters coming in better shape regardless of what weight class they're in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you just can't compete.
Yeah, you can't compete. It's you can have, now that, especially for women, because obviously that's the background I know. You can have an illustrious. Oh, I used your word, illustrious. Yeah, you can have that kind of. You can have an amateur career where you figure out the ways to cut weight with your body, and what your body can accept and what it can't. And when you find out when you're fighting for free that the other guy's been training twice as hard, or
Right.
he's bringing a lot more muscle to the game and you're bringing a lot more fat, then you make those mistakes when you're fighting for free. Then you don't want to make them when you're
Right.
fighting for money and your record. So
Yeah.
people
Which is
just
why
kind
I
of grow.
dropped a weight
Yeah,
class.
Emily dropped 2 weight classes.
Is that
since
right?
She's been here.
Yeah, I've dropped a couple weight classes, which is exactly
Takes time.
why
How
I
many
did
how many
that.
fights do you have now, amateur and pro?
Total, I have 10 fights.
Right. So how many fights do you think it took you until to find your weight class, and to get into a position where I'm sure like there's like Rocky, like I tell that motherfucker all the time, like, please, man, drop to 170. He's like, I'm a big guy, I can barely get to 20, and it's like you can see it where, you know what I mean, and it's like, and so for some people they're stubborn, they're like, I just weigh this, or they have an idea in their head. Like I know that like a lot of boxers back in the day were like, you know, like Jeremy Williams was a good contender, but he was a cruiserweight, but he wanted to fight at heavyweight where he couldn't compete with these heavier guys, but heavyweight were the only guys that were getting looked at that time, you know, 10, 15 years ago. And I wonder, you know, with fighters, with MMA athletes now too, to find their own space. You see like Kyle Noak is dropping down, Nate Marquardt we just saw last night, you know, is at 170 now. These are big guys that I'm like, that were all of it, no body fat, and you're like, wow, and they drop another weight class. So like for you to find your groove in there, Emily, what was that, and what was what led you there?
I think overall, just looking at it, the big picture, it was just an evolution of what it truly means to be an amateur and evolving into being a professional athlete. Because when I first started out, I was very athletic and outdoorsy. You know, I've always been into riding mountain bikes and hiking and trail running and running in general. But being, you know, moving out to New Mexico and being with Jacksons and seeing the high level of athleticism that's here, you know, that helped me step up my game and kind of improve my conditioning a lot more and refine it for fight training. But then I think what really made a change for me was just exploring the other element, which is diet, and being very, very concerned with what not only how, you know, what physical demands I ask of my body, but how I fuel my body and what I put into my body.
Right.
And so, you know, for me, I want to be the best that I can be as an athlete. And in order to do that, I really can't let any door go unopened. I really have to be willing to explore all of the areas and all of the factors in being a complete, disciplined athlete for sure, and a high performance athlete nonetheless. And it's not only about, you know, weight loss, but it was about what foods are going to fuel me most efficiently. Right. And when I was able to find something that worked for me, I found that my weight didn't go up very much after my weight cuts. Right. And so I started to, you know, I originally started my first amateur fights at 135, cutting down, thinking that I was healthy and, you know, natural in my walking around 145 on average. And then, you know, just with my time here and my investments in the gym and fight-specific training and exploring my diet and exercise and my lifestyle and refining it, you know, slowly over the years, I've been able to arrive at, you know, at a weight class now that works for me. You know I'm pretty certain I wouldn't go lower than 115. I never in my life thought I'd be a 125 or let alone a 115.
And how beautiful is that, where you're like, I don't even think that this was possible for me, and like you would have scoffed at it, you know.
I had,
you know, a year ago or whatever. You'd been like, no way, that's not happening.
Right. And but I did it slowly, and I did it with the right guidance and the right encouragement from, you know, coaches and teammates.
What kind of
like
diets
Julie.
have you tried?
Well, I'm pretty much on a plant-based diet right now.
So you're a vegetarian then?
Yeah, you know, it's widely known as vegan.
Okay.
But I don't like to choose to refer to myself as a vegan because I feel like of all the stigmatisms and the stigmas of vegans, and I feel like they focuses a lot on what you're not eating as opposed to what you are.
I'm amazed right now just because we've been talking for 9 minutes now. And usually when you're talking to a vegan, it's way before that you find out they're vegan. Usually it's the first 30, 40 seconds. You know, you're like, oh, I like bike riding. Yeah, and I love animals. I don't eat animals either.
Well, I do love animals, and I don't eat animals. I do believe in the food chain for those who feel like that works for them.
It's interesting, though, because you're a high-level, high-performing athlete, and I only know, like, 3 of those, I think, that are vegans. Mm-hmm. There's a couple CrossFitting athletes I know that are like that, and then, like, Mac Danzig, I think, is maybe the most famous MMA athlete that's a vegan, and he's a guy that, I mean, it's just like he's fucking wicked smart for one, and kind of has to be like a microbiologist in order to get the proteins and to be able to fuel himself in a way that makes sense. You know, a lot of vegans and vegetarians you see, and they don't look very healthy. They're not, and
absolutely.
You are.
And I
obviously.
have been an unhealthy vegan in the past.
Right.
And like I
What's
said,
the
it's
difference?
not about what you're not putting in your body. It's about what are you putting into your body.
Right.
And you can be a vegan and eat all that high processed crap that's out there. You can shop like any
Doritos
unhealthy
are vegan
American.
friendly.
Well, technically not, but yeah, technically. But you can get greasy. You can eat bad oils. You can eat hydrolyzed yeast and even certain forms of soy, and it's processed is processed regardless of where
did you do your studying to find out how to eat in a way that was healthy for you as an athlete?
Actually,
that was in line with your...
It's been an evolution because I've always been focused on food, diet, and exercise my entire life. So I'm constantly reevaluating my diet and the information that I'm receiving. And it's really more about the time and when it clicked.
Right.
And I was actually reading a book called Finding Ultra. And it was about a guy who was a professional swimmer and battling like alcoholism and a severe level of alcoholism. And throughout all of that, he actually moved on to eating a plant-based diet. And so through that book, for whatever reason, I've read about these inspirational stories all time and time again. And I read self-help books and all of the food, diet, this and that, all the fads and ideas and theories that are out there. But for whatever reason, maybe it was just timing. I was in the right place in my life to receive this information.
Right.
When I read it, I wanted it for myself. I just said, this is what I want for myself, and I'm going to try it. And when I did, because I was ready, it just felt right. And so now, I pretty much, I feel great. And I still love food. I mean, that's still hard sometimes to say.
I feel like I eat a plant-based diet just because all the animals that I do eat, they eat plants. And so I feel like in that way, I don't know if it's a vegan that you'd call me necessarily, but something like that, I think. Because cows, mine are all grass-fed, grass-finished.
Like I said, I believe in the food chain. I don't have anything against people who eat meat. I think that if I were to be comfortable consuming animal products, then I would just be more conscientious about where the animal product comes from and how it was processed.
That's kind of how
the
I've
life
been
of
in
the animal that's created it.
Is like I want to have a conscientious kind of engagement with that. Like I don't eat any processed food. I don't eat like if it's not farm raised, where I know where the meat came from, I know, like I don't eat corn, like all that. If I don't know how it is, then I'm not going to eat it. You know what I mean? A friend of mine's eating kale chips and stuff, and I'm like, there's all kinds of mold with it. Like there's all kinds of yeasts that are with it that are deleterious to your body, and it's just like, even going from thing to thing, it's like just because it sounds like that, or like they got a stamp on everything, it's all organic now, and it's like, well, fuck, like you could have all kinds of things that are organic that are horrific for you, Right,
and I guess, it's, diet, again, is just one factor. It's one element, and it's about
if
your
you could be
attitude.
higher functioning, would you eat meat? Like if you're like, I'm just not getting quite the performance I want, and somebody's like, a nice steak every now and then.
I don't believe so, no.
There's no way.
I stopped eating red meat when I was 15 years old. And it was because, I was in advanced sciences as a young girl, and I was doing anatomy and physiology and dissecting a cat at the age of 15.
God damn, that is sadistic.
And
I can't believe that.
And so when I would go home...
We didn't grow up that way. I just wasn't raised like that, Emily. I'm sorry. What kind of street gang were you in?
It was pretty awesome, actually.
Where'd you grow up?
In Maine.
That says a lot.
I had to do all the incisions and the muscle separations.
What kind of cat was it?
Oh, I have no idea.
I would want a big one, I think, like a Maine Coon cat if I were going to cut it up, just because you'd be able to really see more. I wouldn't want a little one.
It was a good size. It was a full adult cat. But, you get to understand when you go home and eat meat that looks like the cat that you're cutting up on the table. It was, for the first time, I was exposed in a way, because I didn't grow up with hunters.
Yeah.
And
that's how I grew up.
I didn't. So now this was the first time where I was like, oh, this is an animal. This is flesh that I'm putting into
the legs, or
right.
Whatever, yeah.
And it wasn't that it's just for me personally, because of the way I feel connected to the world and the universe and animals, and in my soul, it just doesn't feel right. Yeah. Maybe someday it will, who knows, but I just have to be true to myself.
There's definitely something you go through, I think. I mean, I remember the first time I killed anything, and I just sat and sobbed. And it was horrific, and it was, I shot chipmunk with a BB gun out of a tree, and it fell out of the tree, you know. And I must have shot at that because BBs are not very accurate. That Christmas story is some bullshit. But you know, and then I stomped it and I hit it with and I was sobbing, but I was like, it's hurt, and now I have to put it over. It's my responsibility now. It broke my little heart, and then, but I grew up hunting and all that, and the first time I killed a big animal like a deer was. It was an experience where it was like there was like a prayer. Like I knelt down with it, and I, you know, you see its blood drip into the earth, and you think just as like, and I just remember having the conscious thought that as this goes, I'm going to go this way too, and this is going to nourish me now and my family, and and just a real communion with that, and that kind of what has grown for me with that is like there isn't a separation, you know what I mean, between us and between animals and between any of that and all this kind of stuff, which is kind of, it blows my mind regardless of how you think about like nationalism or teams or this or that. I remember I was watching Ike fight once, and he got rocked, he got caught with something, and then he went down, and the dude's mounted on him, and being like here and you're watching that is not great, you know, when it's your best buddy, and you see that, and afterwards I thought about it a lot. We ended up losing that fight, but I thought people asked how it was, and I was like, God, it's fucking bad. It was shitty, you know, and then I thought about it, and I thought, but it was good for the other guys. If I'm in the other corner, they're good. And I was like, and then after that, I just thought about fights, and I go, there's not really a good or bad. There's the experience. I'm really grateful for the opponent that's there,
Right.
and I'm thankful for that, and I honor that experience that you have with that other person, with that other athlete. And then there's growth from that. It's just like what you're saying.
Right.
There's just,
Exactly.
where do I move from there? But and that then extrapolated out to like a sense of nationalism or like any division that's out there. I'm like, that's violence against other humanity, you know. And like, how do you live in that unity?
Right.
And
It's
then
the
how do you?
consistency of a level of consciousness throughout your life.
Right. But it's been a growing thing for me, for sure. Because there's a time when I'm like, this is my dirt, and I'm going to defend it. And fuck you. And I, you know what I mean? It's like I felt like my back's against the wall, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe I'll become a vegetarian one day. How about you, Jules?
I can't comment on this conversation because
No.
I had an Oxy and a Lottaburger for lunch.
That's fucking amazing. That's what I was gonna say too.
How do you feel about your Oxy and your burger?
Without the Oxy, you would never be able to have you wouldn't feel good about the Lottaburger.
Probably not. My stomach would be killing me. Yeah.
That's what I wonder too. Is like, so when you're there's a lot of guys I know that are. I remember Randy Tour said a great thing, and they said, "What do you think as an aging athlete? You know, what's the difference?" He says, "There's no difference for me except there's not a getting into shape."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, before when I was younger, I could get into shape in a couple months for a fight. Now I have to stay in shape because I can never catch up to the guy that's 25.
Yeah.
And so, what I was gonna say, what about comfort food? When you guys are talking about eating for function or eating for like what really actually fuels your body, versus then, you know, man, your head is just on grind a lot when you're getting ready for a fight, when you're ready to compete, and for even the month or 6 weeks prior to that. At what point does it become too much and you say, fuck it, I'm gonna have pizza, or what? Or do you do that anymore? Do you find that you've narrowed down your consciousness to the point where like cheating on that would be like sweet potato fries? You know what I mean? Where it's not.
That would be me.
That's kind of where I'm at right now too with my eating. But like, what do you think about that?
Well, like from my personal experience right now, I've been doing comfort food for like the past 3 months. So right
But
now I
that's
do
'cause
feel
you've been
like
hurt
shit.
for a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah, I do feel like shit. Like I had surgery, but I do like, you know, just listening to you guys right now, I'm like, oh man, I know tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be like, all right, it's time to be more conscious again. Like just because of
Yeah.
that, like it's really inspiring to hear it from you guys. But yeah, I think that you do, your mindset changes, especially when you're on a super strict diet, you know, or you're
Right.
a super strict, I guess, way of approaching food. That, yeah, sweet potato fries would suddenly be your treat.
Right.
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah. I'm like, give me some mayonnaise and sweet potato fries. I'm
Yeah.
good. Maybe a little
Right.
Cholula.
Or maybe just a handful of nuts. Maybe a handful of nuts with a lot of dark chocolate, or with some coconut oil
like
in
where
there.
your head's at.
I usually get up for when I just need a binge in the morning. I'll
Right.
take a big spoonful of coconut oil with a shred of
Do you ever
roasted
fuck with
almonds and
coconut
goji
butter?
berries and a big fistful of that, and just shove it down my face. a few
Coconut
times.
butter is nice too.
Yeah, coconut butter's good. It's a little bit more expensive, so I just stick with the oil.
Yeah.
And the oil melts kind of nicely with the
So I've got
with the
this-
nuts and the berries.
I might have some. I don't know if I do or not. I might have some friend of mine's got a new mixture coming that Artisana's going to make that's
Oh,
lovely,
that's a good
lovely.
brand.
Yeah. They're just hooking up with it. What about fish oil, stuff like that? Do you do any of that? What do you do
No.
for like inflammation and things like that, or do you worry about it too much?
I don't worry about
That's
inflammation.
because you're
My
only
body
22
is
years old, though.
22. Yeah, right. Not quite. Plus 9. But
How long have you been fighting?
fighting for about 3 years now.
Did you grapple before that, or did you just go, I want to do some MMA or what?
No, I
how'd
started
you
in
get
martial
into it?
arts when I was 18 years old.
Doing what?
I started with traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu for the first 4 years.
So that's like standing joint locks and shit like
It's a
that?
lot of, small joint manipulations, judo, a lot of psychology as well. Like I did
they
a lot
have
of
to trick
study.
you into thinking that their shit works?
No, like no.
That was a zing!
It does work because my master was pretty badass and still is to this day. He's awesome. But
How do you
no,
think
like
he'd do in the ring?
in the cage.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's too deadly. He'd never find out because it's too deadly. It'd be a murder charge.
I don't know. He's pretty awesome. I must say, a pretty badass.
How about
dude.
him versus Greg Jackson?
Okay,
We already all
They'd
know
probably
the
just
answer to
become best friends.
that. Whose psychology is stronger?
Oh gosh, Greg's got some good
He sure
psychology.
does.
If you make, what is it he's always saying from Lincoln, if you make your enemy your friend, he's no longer, then you've conquered him, right?
Right.
Yeah.
There you go. That would be
Pretty powerful.
right
way to
up
talk
Greg's
there.
alley.
Good talk.
Huh. Yeah, the one time I go off for comfort all the time is if I go see any movie. I'm like, fuck it, I'm having popcorn.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Did you guys see Django?
Not yet.
yeah.
I watched the first 40 minutes. I
do you-
didn't make the rest. I was watching it.
Oh, you're pirating shit. That's cool. I guess. Yeah, that's awesome.
Hey, anyone want to give me money so I can go afford movies in the theater?
If anybody would like to take Emily Kagan out, she's very cute and she has a lot of time on her hands. Since she just fought, she's going to relax for a little bit. So please, if you're in the Albuquerque area, you just come on by Jackson's gym and
Take her to a movie.
get her to a movie. Don't
Oh,
get
shit.
fucking funny though.
Don't try to
There's
feed
gonna
her
be
meat.
There's
Yeah,
going to be a
yeah.
price to pay. Yeah, don't try to feed her meat. Are you? You're not trying to be dirty, are you?
I know.
Unbelievable.
We were just talking about veganism.
Unbelievable. Anyway, so how long till you're healed up? How you been doing? How's your head?
My head got pretty fucked this week, but I'm better now. This weekend, it was a great weekend. But last Monday I went into the doctor. And I've been feeling better. And, moving around a little bit. And I
You
said,
feel like full range and
no,
strength?
not full. Like I can do this now.
Yeah.
Like I can lift my hand above my head, but it's pretty painful to do that.
Yep.
And he said, yeah, you have another 3 months before you can train.
Holy shit.
And I was like, are you serious?
I wonder how true that is, though. They always tell me stuff like that, too. And I'm like,
Yeah.
the less I move, the more stiff I feel. I don't feel as, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
it's like a balance, man.
Well,
and
he
those
kinda
doctors
looked-
always say rest. And I'm like, you're 40 pounds overweight. How can I trust what you've got to say?
Yeah, I actually really trust this doctor. I liked his attitude. You people always like want good bedside manner and stuff
Right.
like that. But the first time he assessed me, he looked at me, he was like, yeah, you need surgery. And I was like, oh, what? Can I rehab? He's like, no, you you can rehab, you can do whatever you want to. He said, but you're going to have surgery. And I had a 300-degree tear, so they put 8 clamps in it. And I was actually
Is that the
impressed.
biceps tendon or what?
No, it was my labrum.
Okay.
Yeah. I have this really weird genetic thing called a Buford complex, which is an awesome
Is that a
thing.
mental thing or is that
It's from growing up in
what are
Indiana.
we talking about?
But it's just like this extra tendon attachment or something, so it kept the tear
Solid.
from going all the way through.
So you're like
Yeah.
a mutant.
Yeah, so my body, or I'm
Fucking lucky.
not evolved. It could be the other way too.
Either way, that's good
Because
stuff.
I've also got this crazy lump underneath my chin, and I forgot what it's called. And
gizzard.
it's it's a goiter. No, but this
A
is
goiter,
Here,
that's-
feel it.
Oh,
Here,
no.
feel it.
Okay.
It's
Are you sure it's not just a gland or something?
no, it's not a gland. I had it checked out.
Okay.
It's some kind of weird
Reptilian.
like prenatal tube thingy that you have that you lose in the womb or something. And mine never got lost. So I think I'm like
Crazy.
unevolved in some ways. Like I'm not as I've got
I think it's amazing.
yeah. You should see my tail. No.
Zing.
Yeah, no, I've got a weird body.
We all know, Julie.
Yes, I
It
have.
reminds me, I was driving on the way here and I thought, man, this rap music, now that has evolved. I was listening to 2 Chainz first of all, just if your name is 2 Chainz, I think you're really you're an innovator. Basically.
Yeah, why wasn't
you're very,
one enough?
Very
Yeah.
creative. And
You're
then
saying it's better now?
I don't know. He's got a line. His opening line in his song is something like, "My bitch has got a big booty, so I call her Big Booty." Like,
Wow.
holy fuck! It's like artistry right there.
Oh my god, that's so funny because just over the fight weekend, Joey and I were bringing up some old school, like, you know, early mid 1980s
Rap songs, yeah.
Yeah, you know, like Boogie Down Productions, Criminal Minded.
Oh, yeah.
Like The Bridge Is Over, South Bronx. Put
Very
up some
nice.
old stuff. Yeah.
Has he been helping you,
What's that?
Joey?
Yeah, Joey's been since Julie used to be in my corner.
Sorry.
And she got too big. We understand.
Yeah, she's too famous now,
okay.
and she's not allowed. So thankfully, I've been blessed with an equally awesome teammate, Joey.
How badass is he?
He's pretty badass. So
Fucking
it's been great.
incredible.
It's been great. So his teaching style has really gelled with my fighting technique.
He's so clear
as well,
too.
So it's just been
Talking
really
about
great.
Joey Villasenor. Yeah, I don't know. He's a special guy here. Like he's one of those guys I feel like too. That's like, it's like the way Wink was for a long time, when it's just like a secret weapon that nobody fucking knew who he was or had talked to him. And Joey's the same goddamn way. Or Brennan Gibson, or there's so many people that are integral parts of this place that that make it work. It's amazing. We're sitting here right now in Jackson's gym, and it's really incredible. And the thing too that is like, you moved from Maine to come down here, and the people that walk through the door, and the people that are like, from years ago versus now, the difference, the influx is incredible. People that are like, I want to do that too, and all they see is the lights. Mm-hmm. All they see is like cameras go off or whatever, or somebody posing for pictures, or or whatever it is. And like, this isn't stuff that they understand at all.
No.
And you gotta love fucking being in the gym. You gotta love being on these mats. You have to love, like, when you look at that kid and go, I just want to learn how to stand up off of that, or whatever.
Yeah,
you know what I
the
mean?
intricacies,
If you're not involved in that in an intellectual and physical way, and you don't feel your spirit is enriched, fucking stay home and turn on the TV, man, because it's a whole different thing down here.
Just go be a Kardashian, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, like it's
for real.
Yeah, you have to love the grind. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't love the grind, then you don't love the sport. You have to love I mean, I guess there's really not a lot of fighting in the back of barns and stuff like that. I'm sure it's still out there, but you have to, like your opponent falling through, and then the next opponent falling through, and you having to take a fight of somebody 20 pounds heavier than you. The real stuff that at the time is traumatic, but you learn how to get your head on right because of it, because you understand what's really important, and it's yourself and your own progress.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like why are you here? Mm-hmm. Like, what brought you in the door, and those kinds of questions. And then, who are you now? Mm-hmm. And then if you win and you win and you win and then you lose, who are you now?
Yeah, exactly.
Or if this guy that is fucking got all these shots and then your fights fall through, and it's like, do you go on a binge eating, or do you fucking go, I'm going to be ready when the opportunity comes?
I think that's even the reason, I was able to survive out here. I on 2 months' notice, I packed up everything I could in my station wagon and just drove. It just drove in the middle of December, 2 weeks before Christmas, cross country.
Did you have contact here, or what brought you here?
When I first looked at taking it to another level, I was training with Marcus Davis, the Irish Hand Grenade, back in Bangor, Maine, and he had offered me to come and stay and train there, but I really needed to get away from a lot of stuff going on in my life, and so and I needed something that was going to help propel me forward faster with it as a female. And so I had contacted Ricky, the manager.
Were you grappling out there?
I was doing MMA.
Uh-huh.
I had done grappling and some Muay Thai throughout my life.
Right.
I trained in it and lived in Israel for 3 years, and I got a lot of my training in out there as well.
She also used to be a pro wrestler in Israel.
Palestinian or Israeli? What side are you on?
Israeli.
You're on the Israeli side. We're gonna fight.
Oh boy.
But I had been training in martial arts for about 10 years before I moved out here, and I trained every day, sometimes twice a day, just because I loved training.
Did you know Amanda Buckner and Jay Jack and those guys? They have a school in Maine, don't they?
I had met them.
You had?
I had met them. Amanda wasn't so kind to me when we first met.
Really?
Yeah.
Is there a story there? Can we talk about it? No?
I don't know. I like Amanda, but
Yeah,
it's,
I think
first impression.
I knew her
Yeah.
and Jay like 12
Yeah.
years ago or something. I trained with him in Boulder a bit, and that's where I first met Amanda. And then she got sick and went back to Maine, and then they started
Yeah.
this great school out there. Is all I know.
I-
And Jay's always been he's a great guy, really talented dude.
I don't even know if she remembers me, in all honesty. It was more, I remember her because I had never had any grappling experience at the time. And with my traditional arts, I walked in to meet her in a very humble state. And she proceeded to smash my face into the floor to the point where I got a black eye just from
grappling.
and I just kind of went with it
And
because
it stayed with you for all the
I went with it because again I was raised in the traditional arts of humility and just
Right.
respect the people who are trying to show you stuff, and I bowed out of there, but I was not impressed by the the first encounter with this person.
Right.
And then I had met some of her students later when I went to the Freestyle Grappling Open in Southern Maine, and so I never really got to know her personally much more
Right.
than that, but I guess that nothing really came my way to encourage me to continue getting to know
Right,
her
exactly.
more. And then at that point, I was ready to leave, and I just had a lot of other things going on. But coming out here has really just been amazing for me as a female athlete.
How long you been here?
3 years now.
Solid.
Yeah, 3 years and 3 years and 1 month exactly.
Did you ever live here?
What's that?
Did you ever live here?
In the gym?
Yeah.
No, I did not. I just, I know.
Very nice.
I've also been a female in a lot of male dominated.
That's the other thing I want to talk about too. That I fucking forgot about. What other male dominated things are you into as a female? Real quick, just before I forget.
Well, we were talking about being in other gyms.
I see. First of all, how hard is that? Like Jules, I know. I mean, I don't know. Like, you guys were not, video here or anything, but these are gorgeous women and talented women, and I know there's a lot of bullshit that comes with. If you're just a regular bitch in the street, there's fucking bullshit that goes with it. You know what I mean? That's like, there's stuff that I don't ever have to fucking deal with because I'm not pretty. But like to go to, sure. I mean, and there's perks and all that, like that. I'm sure, but I'm never worried about like where I park my car if I'm gonna be raped. Like being raped for me, it fucking never comes up in my life, And then I was talking to a friend of mine, and we're talking about this young girl that we knew that was like 13, 14 that we'd been a big part of in her life, and I was going, God, she's gonna have her first kiss soon, and then she's gonna have her first crush on some dickhead that's like an older boy that has a garage band or something that disses her, like all these things there. And she goes, and she'll have her first date rape, and I go, huh? And she goes, Tait, she says, if you get 9 out of 10 fucking girls, or 10 girls in a room, 9 out of 10 of them are gonna have a date rape story or something like that. And it's like, I was blown away. I was astounded, and then I started talking to more women about that, and I was like, is this accurate? And most women are like, they know somebody or a lot of their friends or themselves. There are either a boyfriend that forced themselves on them or some kid or fucking whatever. And it's like, so there's all that goes on. Now you go into an MMA gym. There's a bunch of dudes, the Joey Villasignors, the Cubs, the Isaacs, the fucking Keith, all these guys that are, that are real stands for whatever's righteous in the spot and that set the tone for, act this way or get served. And like here it's been nice at Greg's has been fantastic in that. And the beautiful thing is there's a leavening that happens, and you'll get beaten out of the gym. Nobody will say anything. You'll just be unwelcome, and it'll be clear when you spar. Mm-hmm. But the deflection that all of you guys have to go through, because no matter what, there's going to be all that. Like, and then there's these other girls that come in that are only looking to jock dudes that are, you know what I mean? And so, first of all, there's like first I want to stand on my own as an athlete here, not just as a woman athlete, but as a fucking athlete, goddammit.
And then the sluts bring you down.
And then there's these other things. I mean, I always say slut in the nicest way.
Well,
That's a
I
term
shouldn't
of
say that,
endearment
but
for me. I think good on you. You know what you want, and go get some. And I love that.
Yeah, but don't get some in the environment when other women are trying to prove themselves as professionals. Yeah.
But there is that, and then the separation of yourself from that, especially not so much for you, Jules, because you've been here for so long,
yeah.
and you've really proven that. But coming in from out of town, and like you're in this spot now, and How hard is that? Because that's just some other stuff to deal with on top of an already rigorous lifestyle.
Well, like I said, I've been a member, the only woman in a lot of other male only fight gyms, and so I knew that I was, going to come down here, and I knew what Jackson's represented to me and what I wanted from my experience here. And so, in order to avoid those kinds of circumstances, or being pegged, or even giving in to anything, I walked in here, and for I'd say probably at least 2 years, I pretty much kept my head down, my eyes to the floor, came in, did work, and left. I didn't even really chit-chat too much or have small talk with any of the guys here, because I wanted to be sure that, there was no, because you don't, as a female, you don't have to, you could just look at a guy, a certain way,
sure.
And it doesn't matter whether you just said, hey, how are you? But if you looked at somebody and people don't know what kind of character you are, then you could instantly be pegged as a slut,
right.
Just from looking at someone.
Sure.
So I kept my eyes to the ground, and I kept my mouth shut, and I came in and I trained and I went home.
Yep.
And I left any drama or bullshit that I was sorting out in my life, I kept it outside the gym and away from the gym, until I felt like I had built enough of a, reputation or sort of like just a sense of, that people could get an idea of who I am as a person before I ever felt safe enough to really start opening up and developing friendships, where I feel like now I don't really worry about who's thinking what or judging me. And if they do, then I really don't care now, because I just feel like...
Well, now you've got people that are pillars around you, like that if that got brought up, that they would get laughed at or smacked. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like,
I feel that people, I feel like I'm really thankful too, because I feel like that approach was the best thing I could have done, because I really feel thankful and appreciative for all the, the professional relationships
right.
I have with all my male and female teammates here. And I feel like not only does that allows me to keep the drama out of the gym,
right.
and not have no drama come my way, but it also allows me to constantly grow as a professional, because no one's afraid to talk to me. No
Sure.
one's going to tease me or try to bring me down. Everyone here is just trying to help me out and lift me up as a professional, and now as a person as well. So I feel pretty good about that. It was a long, I really had to put my time in, but it was, it was worth it. I mean, because
right.
I plan on being here as long as I need to for my career.
Right. Where do you want your career to go? Where do you want, what in like 5 years, where do you want to be?
Jeez, 5 years. That's a long time.
It is.
I thought I was going to be out here just for a few months when I first came, and here I am 3 years later,
right.
And it's just starting to take off even faster than I ever thought possible. I mean, right now I signed, a multi-fight contract with Invicta, and I'm looking forward to, getting those fights in with them and winning the next two, and seeing how long they'd like to keep me on for. I do have long-term goals of eventually, I'd like to have a family. And I know my body probably has a limit with that.
And that goes into another question.
But I'm okay with all of that too. I mean, I've really thought a lot about what I want out of myself and my life. And, while fighting is everything, I focus on everything into that right now. I also have long-term plans and goals so that I can feel good when the time is right for me to move on to the next thing.
Right.
So, yeah.
Jules?
Yeah.
How about your biological clock?
Oh, it's ticking hard. I know, I've told you that before. It's rare that I walk by a man without, like, sizing him up. What's his sperm like? Like, could we make a good baby? But, it's... the thing
you can't tell most guys that.
No.
I wonder what that guy's sperm's like.
They're like, I'll give you a free
there's
sample.
I'll be like, taste it.
There's a whole list. I heard it's delicious.
Yeah. It's one of those things, though. My life.
So glad you feel so comfortable with me.
Taste test. Yeah. No, it's one of those things. Yeah, I want children very badly. I come from years, like generations of Irish breeding stock,
right.
like where we shoot out the babies. But like where I'm at right now, I'm in a really good place in my life.
Yeah.
And it's you kind of, I'm not really in a position to have a baby with anybody right now.
Right.
And so for me, I want to get to where I'm either in a really solid relationship.
I hear that it takes longer to recover from a baby than it does from surgery. Just to put that in your mind.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like, I should have just gotten knocked up while I was having my surgery, and then it would be perfect.
Damn.
But yeah, but the thing is, if it gets to the point where I'm done with my fight career and I'm ready for children and my body's not ready to produce children, I have no problem with adopting. I've always wanted to adopt a kid anyway.
Yeah, but everybody says that shit and they say, oh, after your late 30s or 40s. Especially like the way you think about nutrition and health and all that. I think that's a broad brush that people get painted with, that, you get into a position where if there's some wicked unhealthy ladies out there and they say, yeah, don't have a baby after 38 or whatever. But it's like, I think that, you hear about women that are 45 that have babies,
exactly.
You know what I mean? And it's like, and then there's the whole thing too now with science of like, right now, go and freeze your eggs and fucking find, so at least you have that going for you. If that does come to pass, you're ready, you're prepared.
Yeah, it's just not something, I guess I stress about it occasionally, mostly hormonally induced stress. Like, I'm never going to have a child.
Right.
Then I kind of ease off and I'm like, I've got a great life. Like, I don't make a lot of money, but I get to do what I love every day and be around it every day. Right. And I'm starting at this point in my career, I think, to actually have a voice in the sport. Like, people come to me and they talk to me and they ask me for advice and they ask me for things. And I'm like, okay, I'm fine. Like, it's no hurry. Like, it'll all be just fine. So
I was gonna ask too, like with that, like as far as being a woman, and I've never fucking asked this of anybody. I never ever thought about it before, but with hormonal differences and all that, like having a period, not having a period, like cutting weight to the point where you don't have a period anymore, or how does that menstrual cycle have to do with cutting weight? Like how much of I was talking to a guy, one of my guys that's going to go and do that Gracie Nationals grappling thing, and he likes to eat sea salt every morning, to kind of normalize his body. And he says, it's the thing I'm going to miss because I'm going to dump that out of my diet.
Right.
And I was like, we should have kind of tied that in and done a pretend weight cut like a month ago and see how it is, and then maybe you only dump it out 2 days before, but that's fucking a little bit of salt. This is a whole different conversation. You know what I mean? It's like, you guys, is that a huge thing to look at? And is it something that you just figure out by yourself? Because I know guys that are pro fighters in the UFC that don't know how to cut weight very well.
I think we have both very different experiences.
We have different experiences with being on our periods, with cutting weight. Absolutely. I'm one of those really lucky individuals where when my body fat drops, I get multiple periods.
Multiple?
Yeah, I get multiple periods.
Like
I get
several
more.
in a month?
Yes. Like I'll have like 2 or 3 periods a month when I'm at low body fat. Yeah.
When
I'm heavy like I am now, everything's normal and it's perfect. But when I lose weight, I had a period for 6 weeks straight when I was filming that stupid reality show. 6 weeks of a period. Yeah. Just nonstop. And I've never had a fight. It's some kind of stress-induced thing. I've never had a fight where I wasn't on my period. Like, it'll just come.
Really?
Yeah. So I've learned to deal with that, and I think that I'm probably naturally a 125er, not a 135er, but I've stayed at 135 because I've had the most fights here,
right?
And I hate dieting. So I'm just like, it's hard to take the vodka away from me.
Sure.
So but like for me, it's like I've learned to deal with it just fine. I know that other people have, more difficult experiences with it.
Mine.
I can, cue you on that one. Yeah.
Damn it, mine's like, mine used to be crazy and neurotic and everything, and then I changed my diet and my lifestyle, and the damn thing is like, I've got it, it's all to a science. I know exactly, it comes every time it's supposed to. I know exactly how late to the day it's going to be after every fight, and this was the first time I dropped to 115, and I was, because my body is so on point, because I keep everything consistent, like in all areas of my life.
You're just dialed in.
I'm just
everywhere
dialed
all the time.
in. Yeah,
I'm diet now.
so
Listening to you, I'm like,
dialed in.
God damn it! Now I know what's wrong with me.
Feel bad,
I knew that I was due on my fight, and so I also have a very good, strong mind-body connection. So I worked really hard the one before to try to psych myself out, and I meditated and I talked to my body to push it farther back, and I did. I succeeded. I got it. It came 3 or 4 days later, and it was
super
but it was
vagina pop. Wow.
I was like, I can control this, but it's
way.
all about being connected, your mind and body connected, and truly being tuned into yourself. And I was like, yes. And I was like, it's going to be late now. And it wasn't. My body was like, fuck you, Emily. I am coming right when I'm supposed to. And man, right before my fight, I had to deal with that shit. And it sucked. I was like, 20 minutes before I was supposed to get out there, and I was like, no, I thought I got you, but it got me right back. So I was like,
is there a norm? Like you guys being very different, so there's the whole spectrum.
yeah, I think there is a whole spectrum. I
Yeah.
mean, I think there are a whole spectrum of experiences, you know, because it's hormones, and your hormones are affected by everything in our life, not
Right.
just our fighting,
Yeah,
but
they are who
everything.
you are, your thoughts, everything.
Yeah.
your
Yes,
emotions,
exactly.
for
Your
sure.
thoughts.
We're
Your
born to
dreams.
breed,
food,
right?
your
I mean,
drink.
we're biological creatures.
Yeah.
We're supposed to mate, breed, like, and our hormones like can
I
dictate.
love
a
how
lot
you're
of it.
talking right now.
Well, I mean, it's like,
Mating and breeding.
I'm just like, I think that you have this extraordinary mind-body connection, and
Sure.
I have the mind-body connection of the just bleed guy from the first UFC. Like, it's just what my body says, just bleed,
Right.
just go. Like, yeah, but I mean, we're every, you know, it's your biological function to eat, shit, and breed, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and die.
Yeah, everything wants
And,
that propagation.
Yeah, so.
That's
it's
what I was someone just asking like what my diet was like lately and all that, and it's been all I've been trying to do is like stay in a ketogenic state, you know, where so I eat like less than 100 carbs every day, or 150 would be tops, you know. Like if I do go to the movies, I know a tub of popcorn is 90 grams of carbohydrates, and fucking, so those are the only carbs I'll eat. But I eat a ton of fat, like I don't know,
Me too.
thousands of calories of fat a day. I just fucking butter, coconut oil, coconut butter, nuts. I'm all about it. And like the way I'd heard it explained, this guy, a guy named Mark Sisson, he wrote a book called The Primal Blueprint, and he talks about cells like that. He says, you know, like whether it's with aging or whatever, he says there's two types. There's either sugar burners or fat burners, and he says sugar burners are they're always in maybe in hypoglycemia happens a lot for them or whatever. Their body crashes out because they're only burning blood sugar of their body, and then it's also like those cells, they like to split a lot because there's an excess of food around it. So they like to your cells are just like anything else, like any rats or humans or whatever. They like to split it, but they're smart only if there's an excess. Like we'll go ahead and breed if we're in the trailer park and we'll have 15 kids. They're way smarter than humans. But they also have a lot of shit attached to them. Like there's all this excess free radicals and such that are attached to the cells, and so they'll split prematurely, and all that stuff will be blown around. You'll be a sickened host by having all those cells that do that all the time. Is one of the things. The other things is natural aging processes are enhanced. Da 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 da. He says, and after like 4 days though, if there's a glut, your body will convert and it'll become a fat burner if there's no food. But we're never in starvation for that long. He said, so if you can push to fuel your body just on fat, you'll never be hypoglycemic, like after a workout or whatever. You'll never get into these states, and your body will be like your cells will start to eat all the free radicals and everything. It'll take all the nutrition that's available before it splits, and you'll have a healthier body overall. And that's kind of what I found in the last several months. But you know, that conversion, that converting from one source to the other, it's like not everybody's body is the same. Like you look at Cowboy or something, and that motherfucker eats donuts and he looks like how he does. You know what I mean? But I think as you've aged and thought of, like, as a professional athlete, and it's been all these years, have you looked at diet in a different way? Has it evolved into something that you didn't think it would be, or you didn't know you needed?
Oh, for sure. I mean, for me in particular, I mean, when I have a fight coming up, I'm pretty disciplined on my diet.
Right.
I pretend to be a lot worse than
you
I
have a
am.
lot of
Like
vodka
I like
talk
to, I
right
like
now.
to, I like to throw. Oh yeah, I'm drinking, I'm this and that. But the truth is, like, for the most part, I actually eat pretty clean, even in between fights. Like
Right.
I have weekends like this weekend where I do a lot of burger and stuff. But I mean, I prefer a salad, a meat.
Right.
You know. Like that's,
You're,
you know, that's
I mean,
what
you
I
are
prefer.
you're
But
one of the most
I-
highly disciplined people I know, for sure.
Oh gosh, that's so nice to hear. Guys, I'm just like today, like I'm just like
Well,
with
no, and nobody sticks around like that, Jewel. You know what I mean? It's like there's not anybody that has your stick-to-itiveness that doesn't have that kind of discipline. I mean, that's a discipline.
it might be brain damage too.
And there's
You know,
that.
I mean, I
That
do
does
get hit a
happen,
lot.
yep.
But honestly, you know, I hear when Emily talks about her
That's
diet
why you
and
guys
stuff
need to
like
get on
that.
fish oil.
I am on fish oil actually. I do take. I eat fish 3 or 4 times a week, and I take fish oil. But you know what? I actually am
You like
trying the
chia
magical
seeds?
coffee. I've been doing that lately,
haven't?
but I haven't. I'm on his newsletter and stuff.
Awesome.
The problem is that I guess it goes back to hormones, but I'm an emotional snacker as it is.
Right.
And so it
That's
doesn't
the other
help
thing
me.
too that I found
yeah.
is when I keep my carbohydrates low.
Yeah.
It's like nobody goes and raids the fridge and is like, I just can't wait to get another pork chop. I
know,
need to go to
right?
the store.
You
But
want
if
something
if you
readily
eat some
available.
Cheez-Its and then
Yeah.
you eat the Triscuits and then you eat the fucking Rice
Yeah.
Krispies and it's like people binge on carbohydrates.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And after I stop doing that and I take a spoonful, like you said, coconut oil or coconut butter or something, I'm like, fucking rad, dude. I'm sated. Like that high fat intake right away. It's so satisfying. It's awesome. Yeah, it's something to consider for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, because it does tighten everything up, I think. And I feel, I don't know about you, but I feel more even all through the day. You know what I mean? I don't have that roller coaster. So like when you're talking about like a mind-body connection, Emily, that it's like I feel more even and steady all through the day, not just physically and what my output is. Like I don't need to eat before or after I work out. Sometimes I'll eat once a day. It doesn't matter to me a whole lot, and I'm not up and down or I need a nap or that. Like I'm kind of high energy all day long.
Yeah, I've actually heard that fats are what tells our body that we're satisfied. I mean, it's not protein or volume. It's actually the amount of fats that actually chemically tell our brain, okay, we've got what we need.
Right.
We're good.
Yep.
As for everything else, I'm sure with your diet changes, there's probably a lot more going on that maybe you haven't even realized that you're already doing right as to why you're not feeling so tired. Because I know, like, I used to be a different person, and even though before I got to this point in my diet, I actually did a full systemic cleanse of yeast through my body. I did a real hardcore 7-month yeast cleanse.
So are you gluten-free and stuff right now?
Essentially, I'm not strict on it now, but it's been, not a major component of my diet for a very long time. Like, the only grains that I have in my house are quinoa and buckwheat. But buckwheat's really actually, I think, technically considered a fruit.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Buckwheat's a fruit?
Like, I usually use quinoa, buckwheat. It is. Google it.
Quinoa is like the
Google it is not the fruit. Buckwheat is,
the
though.
hippie kind of. It depends how hip you are with how you say it too. I think there's different pronunciations.
Quinoa.
Well,
I'm from Indiana. It's quinoa.
But I've read like Rob Wolf writes about that a lot, and he says it looks and acts like a grain in your body.
But yeah, but I'm saying that the buckwheat is actually
the buckwheat's a fruit,
right?
Okay.
It's from a fruit plant or something like that.
All I know about buckwheat is pancakes.
Yeah, well, what I do is the buckwheat groats, and so, like, for instance, I actually use quinoa in my breakfast. I have a really cool breakfast that I put together, but because I haven't
eggs either.
No, I don't. No animal products.
God damn it!
I used to do eggs over.
What about abortion?
Oats.
Are you pro-abortion?
Haven't had to deal with that yet, thank God.
We're good friends.
I thought you were going to ask her if she eats fetuses. I was like, I think that's not
Good
vegan.
protein
But,
and stem cells. It's a whole different conversation, though. I'm not a biologist.
So I think there's a lot of other elements in your diet that that you might have already addressed without realizing it. Not just, because of the information that you've received. Sometimes better things happen just because you didn't even realize. And you're like, holy shit, all of a sudden you're like, I feel great, but there's more to this than I even realized.
Sure, but there's a cause and effect to all of it. I mean, if you stop eating sugars, you're going to have tremendous effects from that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And if you do, you're going to have type 2 diabetes. Congratulations.
Right.
I
mean, I had, like, a few years back, I had self-diagnosed what I thought was a systemic yeast infection throughout my whole body. And so I took some pretty extreme measures to cleanse myself of that. I mean, you can't really get rid of yeast in your body. What I understand is yeast exists in your body to help you decompose when you die.
Awesome.
So
it's always ready for death.
Well, that's part of the thing, is it's always eating
Entropy.
your cells. So if you have an overgrowth of yeast, you can start to feel, like depressed, lethargy, all kinds of symptoms because it attacks, your cell function. And so just kind of getting that in check, and the common American diet really is conducive for a high yeast growth in your body, which is oftentimes why a lot of people are depressed and lethargic and sleeping and,
It's also another reason that we don't trust the police.
They're yeasty?
They're yeasty. They promote a bunch, I don't know, just like all that, when you look at like what's the regular American diet and what's pushed on us. I mean, when you talk like that, it's like, it's fucking marketing. It's money. Mm-hmm. It's like the FDA. Why are they saying to eat 9 or 12?
Like Nike running shoes versus barefoot shoes.
You know what's funny is when you look back at that kind of shit. I haven't read them. I don't wear Merrells, but I like the
I've
New
got a few
Balance,
different
and then I
ones.
like the Innovates.
And I also just bought. There's a brand called Vivo Barefoot
Yep,
from
I've seen 'em.
England. I got them
Do you
special
fuck
order
with
from
the Five
REI.
Fingers at all, or
I
no?
have had those, but because I do a lot of
I feel a
mountain
little
running,
too fruity if I wore them.
I like them, but with mountain running, because I like to literally run up the mountains and down, and with all the rocks that I have noticed that if your toes aren't kept together, that you can easily clip
Break 'em
one,
easy.
and so I've lost some toenails in those. These ones, I've actually traversed the entire Sandia mountain range from the north to the south, 26.5
Did you find that
miles.
when you switched them?
In these, and I'll tell you what, I did it with two friends, and they did in their regular shoes,
Right.
and the guy who did it in his regular shoes was like in so much pain. When we got to the last mile and a half or so of the trail, I actually took my friend's backpack, put it on top of mine, and finished it out,
Did
and
you
I
call
felt
them names?
fine.
Did you say you're kind of a puss?
I was just like, you might want to just consider some of your choices.
Did you read Born to Run?
I did. I just finished it recently.
Do you think about running down your animals now if you had if you were of that nature?
Well, if I was of that nature, then I would be running down my animals, because if I need to survive and that's all my only option, then I will do it.
Super interesting. The animals just don't breathe that way, and they'll fucking hyperventilate, overheat, and they'll drop.
It's fascinating stuff.
It's fucking
yeah,
wild.
it was great, and it was also really interesting to relearn all the stuff about the design, and the initial intent of the design of the traditional
Fucking
running
crazy.
shoe.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's very crazy. There's a lot
Did
of
you find your
interesting
feet got
information.
bigger?
What's that?
Did your feet get bigger?
I've always been kind of a barefoot kind of girl, hippie
Okay.
girl from Maine, you know. We
Yeah,
like to run and play
I
on
see
rocks
that.
and stuff, so it was just, like, I knew I always didn't want to
I
wear
grew
boots.
like a half a size, or
Did
like
you?
maybe a full size in some shoes, just because my feet spread out. You think about that arch
Yeah.
just holding you ever since you're little. Like, it's a trip.
I was never a running shoe kind of girl. Like I
It was-
said, I
listen.
returned so many pairs of hiking boots. I always end up taking them
here's
off
what
and
my health
walking
was
barefoot.
As a kid, is I'm on a crystal meth binge. We're drinking for like a week and a half, and that's it. It was the first time I'd ever done any crystal at all. I thought about the third or fourth day in, I go, dude, I got to do something for my health here. And I went into I was in this apartment, and I go into the fucking cabinets, and there's a multivitamin in there, and I go, fucking solid. And I took a couple of those, and then I did like 3 pull-ups on the door hinge, and I thought, phew. And I washed those multivitamins down with like a Bud Light, and I thought, I'm good. You know that. So when you're saying I've always been acting like, yeah, it's new to me. I just wore shoes to walk around in, and I didn't. It's not like I was super active as a child. my results, my function was I had different purposes. Little bursts, maybe over a fence or something like that to get away from the cops initially. But if there was going to be a long chase, I wasn't going to be in that race.
Yeah, us New Englanders, we tend to walk around in flip-flops all the time, regardless of the season. So,
Very bad for you, flip-flops.
Oh shit.
Sorry.
hey, well, my toes are spread.
All these innuendos. Oh boy. So babies for you too?
Someday, yeah. I don't think I'd be down for adopting. That's probably not my thing. I'm too selfish. I guess I'd rather just have my own, or live my own life. You know, do my own thing. But yeah, I would like to have a couple children.
Do you think about post-fighting? Like what you might like to do
Oh, yeah.
next? Like what your next challenge is? When time or whatever, like circumstances are such that you're out of the game?
Absolutely. As soon as I'm done with fighting, I want to compete in ultra running, long trail. Like I want to, if the fight training allows, I don't know, but I've talked about doing the Leadville 50 next summer. I've also started exploring and researching some of the adventures, adventure
races?
racing teams.
Yeah, a friend of
'Cause
mine used to do all that.
I've always been like, I was a wilderness guide for 3 years, so I'm really into being the outdoors and orienteering, mountaineering, trail running, mountain biking.
You'd be like like a Knowles or Outward Bound leader.
Yeah, I'm
type.
actually already. I am
course.
employed with Outward Bound, and I'm a certified wilderness first responder and all kinds of other outdoor
Of course.
crap like
I'm
that.
behind the curve.
She's already done it. Whatever it is, she's done it. Yeah.
I actually think about sometimes taking those jobs over the summer. Again, everything is around my fight training, but I'm still on the email lists for hiring
why
outdoor
people
leaders.
hate you is because, like right now, what I'm getting is because you just make me feel so much less than because you're such an overachiever.
You actually know more than me than a lot of people right now, because most people don't take the time to really have conversations. and I'm not really one to just sit there and offer it up.
She
No,
won't
really.
sit around talking about herself, so you have to directly
I mean,
ask,
and I forget some of the things that I've done, to be honest
yeah.
with you, until people start asking questions. I'm like, oh yeah, I did that. That's right. I totally
It's so
forgot.
cool. I like it so much because it's like I've had a very colorful history, right? I didn't do anything really in martial arts or anything like that until I was maybe like 27 or 28 years old. And I started stick fighting and then jiu-jitsu right after. But the thing was, is that like, I look at it and it's so easy to go, there's not a lot of possibilities. It's like when I grew up, you either do X, Y, or Z, you know? And I grew up in Michigan, and it's like you work on a merchant marine boat, you're a criminal. You can go, if you can go to college, you go to college, or you join the army, or you can go downstate. You can do a good job at United Auto Workers. You know, you can work for one of the big auto plants down there. There's just not a lot, and so when you're outside of that box, if you're not doing those things, you're like I said, you're either a criminal or a loser. Like you're not. There's not like a lot of options, and so when I moved and I started hanging out with some different people, and it's like that's why I like what you guys do too, where there's no fucking possibility of you being a female fighter. It's not happening. And even up till like I don't know, not last week, but it's like shortly ago, Dana White's going, they're never going to be this. It's disgusting to me. I don't want to see it, or whatever his whole thing is on it. And it's like,
I knew that would change.
Yeah, we.
But the adamancy with it, he says stuff like he means it at the time until things shift, and then he doesn't mean it anymore. Of course, not a lot of integrity in that word. However, the fact is to continue doing that when you go, there's no hope. It's like when I was talking to Little John, and I'm like, there's no room for you anywhere, and you continue on, and the real beautiful thing every time I think of Little John is that little bitch is smiling no matter what. It doesn't matter how hard he's working. Doesn't matter how beat up he is. It doesn't matter. Whatever's happening, dude's positive. And so for you guys, like, surmounting even more than men do, and I'm not trying to fucking, ride on any kind of female tip here or anything, but those are just the facts of humanity. It's like there's different set of obstacles for y'all. And to move forward in the positive kind of energy that you have to maintain in order just to get up in the fucking morning and go do it again. Yeah. In the face of all that, like it's a real testament to your love of the sport and to your love of that freedom of like, I'll do whatever I want regardless if there's a structure built for it or not. I'll build my own job.
And I don't know what it was for Julie, but you got to actually meet my sweet little mom.
Oh, what a love.
Well, my mom always told me, she's like, you can do whatever you want in your life, just make it happen.
Right.
So I learned that anything was possible, and all I needed to do was look to if I was committed, just make it happen. That was it. She was just like, yeah, you want that? Sure, fine, make it happen.
Figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. And then I had a grandfather, her father actually, who I was sitting in the car with him, maybe just a couple years before he passed away, and my uncle his only son was going through a midlife crisis, and I asked my grandpa, and I said, Grandpa, do you remember your midlife crisis? Because I thought, I just assumed that everyone had one, that it was part of life.
Right.
And he looks at me and he says, no. He's like, I never had a midlife crisis. I've always felt like I was on top of the world. And I was like, well, shit. You mean there's another option? I was like, I choose that one. I was like, all right. And so from that moment, I always thought, I was like, well, I want to get to the end of my life and look back and be like, I was on top of the world.
Right.
So since then, I've just tried to live each day, like that I could die today and be like, yeah, I did it all. Like, I did it all right. I did everything, that I wanted to do, and I went for it.
I was listening to this tape, and this old man, he was speaking at a conference, and he goes, yeah, I went up to one of the maids, and I was like, hey, how are you? How's your day going to be today? She's like, I don't know. It depends if this happens, that happens. How's your day going to be? He says, my day's going to be great. She says, how do you know that? He says, because I get to choose. Like your grandpa in that way. Like, it's like that whole thing of that. And that's why, like, it's like, I like hanging around fighters. I like hanging around, like, people in, like, these outlier kind of positions that aren't willing to accept status quo or the standard, that are choosing an uncommon way just because they choose to. Because, like, there's a bunch of people that have told me all along the way it's not going to work out. Maybe you ought to go to law school. Maybe you ought to do X, Y, or Z, And it's so exciting just to be that possibility, and to represent that possibility. I think I love the thing that Charles Lewis Mask said, and he was like, maybe I won't touch 1 million people, but if I keep trying and I stay positive, maybe I'll touch somebody that'll touch 1 million people. And I think the more people in that consciousness, and it's kind of the vein in this, like when Rogan prompted me to do this podcast thing, and I didn't really understand why, or I'm like, who wants to listen to that or whatever, but it's like, it's become very present to me that just the importance of going, there's a whole nother way to live. It's like when I was leading a more colorful existence maybe than now or less, because I could be anywhere and never leave a fucking hotel room. If I'm getting loaded, that's all I'm excited about. And I thought it was just the only way I could be. I didn't know there were options. You know what I mean? I figured, this is just how I was made and fucking whatever. And I wasn't whining about it. It was just I accepted it as it was, and I didn't really know that you could be proactive and make your life whatever it was, and to do that kind of boldly, and like to talk to you guys in that. First of all, to build a team here, Julie, that you were fucking instrumental in. It's like there's only who, like Jody came on even a little later. Holly was here preceding you, but it's like you're really kind of focused the MMA for women here at the gym. I mean, Holly was boxing, she wasn't really into MMA at that time, and just for what that's been, and for the stand that you guys take, I don't even know that if you even realize the importance and the depth of the roots that you're growing for other fucking people that are 12 years old and that are just looking at you right now.
Well, it's a funny thing. It's actually a conversation I've had with Greg in different, with kind of different tones, but it's always come down to the same thing where he's like, you have to deal with it. Like with my generation of fighters, I had my first fight in 2004, and it was on an all-female show. Like it was all females, and
right.
stuff like that. But it was so varied. I was fighting at 155,
right? Because
I didn't know anything about dieting. I didn't know. I didn't care. I just wanted to fight, and I just kept taking fights and fighting. And the Gina Carano thing happened. Not just my fight with her, but the phenomenon of Gina Carano. Where all of a sudden
right.
there's this spotlight on this star, and she's an incredibly beautiful woman. She has so much charisma.
Super sweet.
Yeah, she's like I consider her to be a really close friend now. But
So one thing you never hear. For anybody that knows Gina, you never hear fucking anything bad about her.
If you actually know her,
they're like, all you hear from anybody, that's the sweetest woman I ever met. She is so sweet, everybody.
But what I dealt with at that time, and it wasn't, there's this wave of jealousy from the other female fighters, and it's just like, well, she hasn't put her time in. She hasn't done this. She hasn't done, and I rode that wave a little bit. Unfortunately, well, actually, I shouldn't say unfortunately. It's like I can't keep that mindset with people. And the very first person that I started working with after my fight with her was Greg, and he just beat the jealousy out of me. And he's like, listen, you may not be the shining star. You may not be the person that everybody's eyes are going to be on. He said, but you're going to be there. There's a house being built right now, and you're one of the foundations. And he's like, you need to be that foundation. And so the Ronda Rousey thing's happening right now, and it's like, again, all the girls are like, people are more behind her now. It's like, oh yeah, she's this, she's that. And she's like, no, she's another star. She's another person propelling us.
Well, and if you're a fucking broad that wants to scrap, why are you not loving her that she's doing something to put, she's fucking cutting a trail.
Yeah, exactly. I
love the one-trick pony talk.
No, she's so much bigger than that.
If you're a one-trick pony, and I already know what your one trick is, I should be able to avoid that. How come nobody can avoid that?
Yeah,
that's because she's fucking, excellent at
it. Sarah Kaufman is a very, very close friend of mine. We've been training together for over 3 years now, like back and forth from Canada and here. And I honestly wanted Sarah to win, but I was scared for her. And I would never say that to her. She might hear this, but I was scared for her. I was like, this is not. There's something more going on with Ronda than just an armbar, and you can't. And I had confidence that Sarah could beat her, and I do think Sarah could beat her. I think I could beat her, but you have to. It's not the armbar; it's how she gets to it. It's her mental preparation. It's the fact that she has been training every day since she was like 3 or 4 years old in martial art. Like there's something.
She's got that competitiveness that she's not. It's that whole thing about it's like fucking Isaac right now, and I remember like maybe a year and a half ago, and Keith called, and he was like, dude, your boy has really turned a corner.
Yeah.
And hearing that, you know, like where a guy's not getting big brothered in the gym anymore, where he's starting to bully people, and you're like, fucking right on, you know, and now he's got this fight with Eves, and I'm just so excited, but it takes time, and like those competitions that Ronda's put in, you can't compete that much. It's like looking at Johnny Jones. You know, a guy doesn't walk into the UFC and treat Stephan Bonner like that. Unless he's got fucking snaps.
Something,
competing,
yeah,
you know?
Exactly. There's something. Some people have something a little bit different, and I think it's.
And it doesn't mean you can't beat them. It's like what you're saying.
Yeah.
Just because there's a goalie doesn't mean you can't score.
No, absolutely. Yeah, everybody is beatable. Everybody will meet that. Yeah, but you need to respect the time that's been in there. You need to respect the fact that she's probably put in more mat time than any other female fighter out there, and nobody realizes that. It's, you know, I mean, I would say maybe Sarah McMahon with her Olympic training is up there in mat time.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's incredible, and it's incredible that these highly specialized, incredibly talented women are here now, and they're visible, and it's happening within my job. I'm still fighting. It's happening. Yeah, I'm a part of it, even if I'm not the go-to girl. I get to be, you know, and Emily we get to be at the time when things are changing, and I love it. Like there's definitely jealousy. There's definitely like, oh, well, when's my turn? But the thing is, you can't treat it like that, because when something good happens for one of us, it happens for all of us as female fighters.
That's the thing, man, is that there's all this, you know, when you talk about nationalism or any kind of secular ideas or societies, there's not like that's an illusion, man, and it's cancer to fucking have that in your mindset. And it's like these jiu-jitsu schools. This guy, I just did one of his shows, and he was talking about, well, I started jiu-jitsu a year ago or something, and there's all these different camps, and these guys against those guys, and he's in San Diego, and there's a bunch of jiu-jitsu schools there, you know? And everybody's scared to show you their stuff or whatever, and it's like, it's such a sophomoric idea, because whatever you train the most, I'm not going to, like, I can show you everything I know on the mat, and I'm still going to smash you with it if you don't fucking put in the numbers.
Yeah.
If you don't put in the numbers, then it doesn't belong to you. You know what I mean? And the beautiful thing is that, like, and with you guys or anybody, like, what I found on the mats, what I liked about it the most was the fellowship, was the camaraderie, was the enriching of people, you know, and the real idea that when everybody does better, everybody does better.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And if I'm only triangling you and I never show you how I'm setting that up, then I never get to get better.
No, because you never know how to counter
I never have
to
adapt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's the thing, is like, it behooves me to make you better so that I can be better too, so we can all be better.
Exactly.
And that's the fucking, when you say it's an exciting time to be a part of the fight game, I feel like that can be extrapolated into an exciting time to be alive. Yeah. Just whether it's the internet age and there's all this evolution that's happening at a faster rate because information is so readily available to everybody, that we're growing. There's a whole undercurrent of that kind of stuff, of that positivity that's fucking growing I
think you're right. I think that what you guys were saying earlier, there's a shift in consciousness going on right now. And I think that we, as human beings, we're hearing a lot of horrible things in the news. Yeah. We're hearing horrible things, and people, you know, things are happening with the country that maybe aren't going the way, you know, at the same time, people are waking up.
Right.
And that's kind of like, it's scary.
Exciting, man.
It's exciting, but it's scary. It's exciting. There's something, you know, there's something brewing, and it could be really beautiful.
Amidst all these divisions that whether different political parties, corporations, or whatever want to put up, because we need divisions to control people, there's a fucking undercurrent of unity that's happening that is viral. It is exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm monopolizing.
I needed to give you a moment.
No, because when I start talking, I don't stop.
Nice. So one thing, is it different, like getting sponsors or management or something for you guys than it is for other athletes? Do you have different managers, or do you guys work with managers at all? Or are you trying to shake your own tree as far as sponsorship goes and getting money fight to fight, or what goes on?
I think for me, you know, I am sort of just trying to do it on my own right now. You know, in terms of management, it's hard because I'm trying to understand what a manager can offer me beyond my own capabilities. Being, having a degree in management and international business and experience making like my making my own
international business. Is that what you just said? And
so anyway,
say that again slower as you gloss over it.
It's considered a degree in management with a concentration in international business. So having started my own business overseas and stuff, and having to survive
Started my own business overseas.
And she used to be a pro wrestler.
What was your business overseas?
I was the teacher. I taught and
Taught
then
English?
I did
What'd you
part-time
teach?
stuff. I taught English, but I also helped Israelis who were trying to apply to some of the top MBA programs and doctorate programs in the United States.
So basically, you just went as an American and spread gusto throughout the world. Kind of what's happening. Okay, anyway, back to the management thing.
I helped them write their essays.
I know.
I helped them write their essays. I feel like one of my talents is as a writer and a passionate writer, and so I would just ask them to tell me about themselves, and I gave them a questionnaire to fill out, and then I passionately wrote about who they were to help sell them to Americans.
A dude told me one time, he says, what a management guy can do for you that you can't do is he's got time to do that. And then he's like, how much time do you have to go and hustle? And I'm like, I got no time at all.
For finding sponsorship, for sure, that is something that I don't. I did put together my own sponsorship.
But as far as your fight, no, you don't need
emails
anybody taking that money. I think you get your own fights, or you know what I mean?
Right. I mean, I don't. I guess it does. I don't really need anyone helping me finding fights. I mean, I guess I can't say I don't need anyone, because there are people out there who I'm connected with in the goodness of their own heart and their own interest in helping me and seeing me grow have been those people helping me. So I guess, and I express my thankfulness, appreciation, and gratitude every day to those, as much as I can, to those people, to let them know how much they mean to me. And I'm willing to and capable to give back whatever I can to those people. And I feel like that's even better than having just a business relationship, because we're spreading like love and generosity by helping each other out, as opposed to having like a monetary or business transaction. There's a lot more good I
said this before. Like Ed Suarez used to own Sinister Clothing, and he manages a bunch of guys now. But he said to me once, he says, if it's a good deal for me and it's not a good deal for you, Tait, it's not a good deal. And if it's a good deal for you and it's not a good deal for me, it's not a good deal. I just love that idea that he kind of goes through his life with, of there really needs to be an equanimity between us all in order for that to be righteous, and looking towards that end and going, nobody has to lose here. You know what I mean? Nobody has to come on the short end. What about you, Keds?
Well,
management.
Jahani's my manager.
All right.
And so I trust him like a brother. So, but
he's one of the sweetest men in MMA.
He is one of the sweetest men in MMA, and I know he's got my back.
Yep.
But when it comes to, I guess, when it comes to female fighters and how they get sponsors and everything like that, like I've chosen a different path than some of the other girls, and I don't like to show my tits, and that's, it's just not my way. And I know there's this huge thing about sex and female fighters and that, and I just chose not to go that direction. And,
right.
As a result, I'm maybe not as visible. Well, no pun intended. But, it's just like, and I don't, that's the thing is people get on me, they're like, well, are you making fun of them for being sexy? And I'm like, no, I don't care. It's completely, you're right. I just want other girls to know that there's an option out there that they don't have to be that way.
Sure.
And so that's the path I'm taking. So it's like, it's no judgment. It's just how I just prefer to stay
just how it is.
Yeah. So I think that I don't probably rate people.
Everybody's going to say you got a great ass anyway.
Oh, that's kind of them. I hope so.
But
it's just I just don't care to market myself that way, and I was clear with Jahani about that. And so there's certain avenues that other girls are going to get, they're going to get more money than me because they do that. At the end of the day, I'm 32 years old. I don't give a crap.
It's like you're looking at. I don't even like to make the distinction of fighters and female fighters.
Yeah,
regard,
exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like you're elite level athletes, and you look at it now. Even having the privilege to commentate the MMA series, the Jackson's MMA series, and the same thing too with the amateur fighters, man. It's like it's not like it was.
No.
It's like everybody is crisp and fantastic to watch. They're all entertaining bouts, and you see that now, this evolution of the sport to where I don't like to make those distinctions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, you'll see the same variety and skill level if you just pick a weight class in the UFC. You're going to see top level guys, mediocre guys and low-level guys, and they're all fighting at the and those are all high-level athletes. So you're going to see a separation in their skill levels, you know? But to make those other kind of distinctions, yeah.
Yeah, and with women, like Felice Herrig went out and said on
a
show, yeah, she said, and I like Felice. I think she's a fantastic
She seems
fighter.
like a spunky little
She
girl.
is hilarious. I think she's great.
Yeah.
And she markets herself sexually, and there was some quote, and I don't know how direct this quote is, but somebody sent it to me saying, she said, well, you're really stupid if you're a female fighter and you don't use sex to sell your fight. And I don't actually believe that I'm stupid for not using sex to sell my fight.
And
Like,
who knows if she even said that?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
You
it's
know
a
what I
quote-unquote that somebody sent me, well, I know you're against this.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm not against it.
I know that her
I'm just-
opponents come at her like that, and they go, "Oh, she's just a cute bitch, and that's all she's
Yeah,
got
but
going
she
for her."
beats them down,
and,
so,
and it's
yeah.
like, and you know,
Yeah.
that whole thing too
Yeah.
is that where people are, they think this is the way to market fights or the way to hype.
Yeah.
I need to talk about them or that. And it's like I really appreciate, like seeing you even as an example is that, like. Here's the modicum of respect that we carry for our opponents.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't need to be like this and like that. And it is. It's an honor and privilege to go out, fucking touch gloves with somebody.
Yeah, you're doing
and
something
bang it out.
together, even though you're trying to kill each other.
Yeah.
You're doing it together.
Yeah.
Like it's not a fight if it's one person.
Right. To
And-
do it with a certain amount of class and
Yeah.
aplomb is a whole different kind of level than guys that are going to bring each other down.
And I don't fault girls for using sex to sell fights. If everybody has this, every human being has this need to feel special.
Yeah.
We have to be special. We
Do
have
what
to
you
be
gotta
ahead
do.
of the pack. We've got to do this. And for some people, that's how they feel special. For me, how I feel special is like cats. I don't know, like, you know what I mean? But it's like, you know, you especially when you're in your early 20s, you're trying to find your identity. You're trying, you know, and all this is thrown at you
Dude,
this
I was
way
on
and
set
that
on
way.
this fucking
Yeah.
show, and there's all these young kids they're like 18 to 22 or something, and standing around with a bunch of stunt guys, and one of them was like, man, this is fucking hard. I've gone through this or that or whatever, and I go, listen, man, you guys make it into your early 20s and you haven't killed yourself.
Yeah.
You're doing fucking great, kid.
Yeah.
You're doing fucking great. And I'm looking around, and they're like all these other stunt dudes. They're like kind of legend dudes, and they're looking at their feet and they're shaking their head and looking at the ground. And I'm like, how crazy that everybody's got that experience, you know, and how isolated we feel in that, and then it's just there's so many answers out there that we just aren't even present to. It's like I know what I know the things that I don't know, but there's this whole realm of I don't even know what I don't know. Like I'm not even present to so much of what exists out there, you know. Mm-hmm. And if you just give it a moment, like give it a beat, you know. One more question. I was wondering, like, what got you into fighting? Like, why did it not only become a passing thing that you tried a couple times, then you went on, but like, what is it that drives you that you're uncovering or discovering or striving towards?
I was in martial arts my whole life, and I did like point karate in my teens, and I love the competitiveness. And I remember one of my instructors back then saying, "You shouldn't do that. They'll punch you in the face," and just thinking, what's wrong with that? Like, you know, like. And I remember, I don't know if you know who Daryl Neer is. He's old school guy affiliated with Hook and Shoot, really good friend of mine from years and years. And he said he came up to me at this not this Invicta show, but the one before, and he's like, "Do you remember?"
Daryl Neer or Goler?
Neer. And he was like, he's an Indiana guy, like, you know, he affiliated with Hook and Shoot and stuff, and Abu Dhabi. And he said, "Do you remember when you were 16 years old and you just ran around the gym wanting people to punch you in the face just so you could feel what it was like, so you didn't feel like a point karate person?" Like, I think there was a fascination to me, and at first I thought I went to an Eric Paulson seminar when I was 18 years old, and I said, "This is gay. This fighting is gay. This is stupid." And then all of a sudden it just gets in you, and you keep watching, and it's like, oh, this is beautiful. Yeah. Like, this is nuts. What am I thinking? And I saw the first Hook and Shoot DVD that they produced in 2001, all-female fight show, and I was like, I'm one of these women. And without ever having a fight, without knowing, right. I'd done some point karate, but I was like, I'm one of these women. This is who I'm supposed to be. And it's never really let me down.
It's a fucking testament to you, Kedzie, because a lot of broads look at that and they go, that's me. And then they go on with life, or they look for security in a baby or a job but
it
to
came up.
stick
I
it
almost,
out, you know?
before I came to this gym, I was with a guy, and we were going to get married and have kids, and that was our big thing. In the next couple of years, he's like, I'm going to propose to you this day, and we're going to get, and I was just like, first I was like, why are you fucking telling me that? Like, right. That's no surprise. And then I was just looking, and I was like, I don't want to make it as dramatic as it was a choice between marriage and kids and following my dreams. But that was back in 2007. Like, that was when I made my huge shift, and I drove out here, you know, to become a part of the Jackson team. And I'm so happy I did it. Like, this is what I'm meant to do. And the kids and everything that might come, I might adopt, who knows, but I was not meant to do that. I was meant to be a fighter.
And I'll tell you this, if that's a dream still, like all you've proven and been testimonial to your own self with is that that's available, that that's possible. You know what I mean? That there's nothing extinguished in that.
No, and I'm a foundation brick.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm down with that. Like, I'm down with that. Like, maybe I'll be the UFC champ someday.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to cast dispersions on anything or like say that I'm not worthy of it or anything. I am.
Yep.
And I could be.
Yep.
And I may be. And I, you know, part of me says I will be the UFC champ, but that's not what my role was. My role was something earlier than that. And that's what I'm fulfilling right now.
Cool.
So that's why I'm really happy with this, you know?
Em?
Yeah.
What about you? Why you scrap?
I too have been involved in martial arts for a long time. For me, I grew up with boys, so as long as I remember, I was watching all the fight, blood sport, original kickboxer movies, and getting all the the military like magazines and circling like ninja stars and shit as what I wanted for Christmas and stuff like that. So I don't know. I've always just been really interested in sort of the martial spirit and the warrior way. And so, for me, it was just always training. I mean, like I said, I just trained for the love of training, and I liked it originally for the idea of improving myself so that I can better serve my community. And honestly, I never really thought about fighting at all until a couple months before I made the move out here, when the kids that I worked with in I told you I was a wilderness guide. I was it was a for therapeutic program, so I worked with at-risk teenagers. And so they were the ones that kept asking me about it. They're like, why don't you, take it to another level? Why don't you fight and compete? And so finally one day I was like, wow, shit, why am I not trying it? And I was like, I was originally into art, and it was one thing I let kind of go to the side. And I was like, this is something that I think I'm pretty good at. And, I guess I was like,
do those kids ever hit you up now?
I wish, I not so much. I mean, there was a lot of privacy stuff, contracts and stuff, because it was, it was
that kind of deal, like a
private. Right. So, I mean, I think they're allowed to if they really want to, but they really put it in my mind, and so I just thought, why not give it a shot? So I really didn't have an idea, at the time. I kind of just embraced it and decided to see what role it would play in my life. And so, when people ask me, what are your ultimate goals with fighting, it's I feel like my goals in my fighting keep changing each year, and with each fight and in each training camp. It's just because it's growing with me. It's not something apart, like outside of me. It's a part of me and my personal growth. So now I fight because I feel like part of why I fight is it just gives me a platform to test everything else in my life. It's a moment to test myself. And, you can only do so much of that in the gym, but when you step into the cage, in a very special circumstance, it allows you for a much more unique and rare opportunity to test all of who you are. And
it's cool, like what you're describing, like where everything comes, it's like a real holistic human, where you're not compartmentalizing these different aspects of my life, but, this is who and how I test my mettle,
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. You guys got websites, or how do people contact you if they want to sponsor you or see you or any of that?
I do have, I'm on Facebook under Emily Peters Kagan, and I'm also on Twitter.
That's Kagan?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And I also do have a website, which I haven't updated in a while. I really should get on there, but it's www.yourinnerwarrior.org.
Right on.
That's so awesome. Your inner warrior. Damn it, Emily. Stop being cool.
Emily is just at Emily Kagan. Kedzy's is way harder. It's underscores and shit. I don't even know how to do it.
It's at JulesK_fighter. It was like my very first email address, which I still have, my Hotmail account. And I just never changed it. It's at JulesK_fighter. And that's my Twitter. That's the best way to reach me, because I tweet
incessantly,
lot.
and you're gonna see a lot of cat pictures.
A lot of
on
cat
there.
pictures. I'm like Reddit, but not as cool.
You guys are. Thanks a lot. I know like there's not a lot of downtime, and there's better ways to spend it than here with me. But I really appreciate it, and I admire you both so much. And you're a real inspiration to me too. Just as it's like whenever I think of you guys, I just grin, and you spread smiles where you don't even know you do. And so just really thankful that you guys are here and made the time.
Thank you. This is awesome. I'm excited to see where this takes you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who
thank
knows?
you.
Right on. Thanks a lot, guys. Talk to you soon.
Did you sleep the whole time?